think. All right, let me start by saying that I had a home run speech prepared in my head about persuading my audience that Sasquatch is real. But Kendra challenged me to go deeper and to do something that matters more. So today's topic is about how the church handles homosexuality. We tried to go deeper. Here we go. So first of all, let me just explain that I don't claim to have all the right answers. What I do have is an understanding of the Augustinian view of good and evil, and using people's logic who are much smarter than I will attempt to just kind of give my thoughts on how I see the church's stance of homosexuality. And before we start, a real quick goodwill statement is that the purpose of this speech is not to persuade you that being a homosexual is a sin. However, my speech is based on a worldview in which it is a sin. For most people, or not for most people, but I understand that this is a problem for those of you who disagree with me, which is okay. I hope that you will still listen with an open mind, because I think you can still get some use out of this speech and maybe agree with some things. For those of you who believe in homosexuality, that it is not a sin, this speech can act as an apology for some of the church's actions. And for those of you who believe that homosexuality is a sin, the purpose of this speech is to persuade you that the way the church has gone about handling it is wrong. And for both parties, I hope it will offer a new perspective on the entire subject. So first, let's begin. Well, in this speech, we will explore the Augustinian view of good and evil. Then we will see how that connects to homosexuality, and then we'll take a look at how the church has handled it in history. So first, we'll look at the Augustinian view of good and evil. Augustine was a early church father in the 300s, and in his treatise on Christian doctrine, one of the leading treatises, one of the first works that really just laid out everything that it means to be a Christian, he explained what his thoughts were on good and evil and sin. He believed that since God created everything and God created everything good, then evil was not a substance, because God couldn't create something that was evil. So therefore, since evil is not a substance, that means he had to figure out what it was. And so in his thinking, evil was just the distortion of good things. So everything was created good, but some things got distorted, and that's where the evil comes from. This means that every sin and every evil thing was once good and got distorted. So when we take a look at that in the context of homosexuality, that means that maybe the root good was the marriage relationship, which then got twisted and put out of place. So it was good, but it got distorted. Carol Heffernan, an author for Focus on the Family, says that marriage mirrors the covenant relationship of God with his people. So marriage, a really good thing that was meant to mirror God's relationships with the church, has just been distorted, and that's where we get homosexuality. But when we look at how the church has handled it, there are really two big views. On the right, we have the kind of you're going straight to hell, which you get these websites like GodHatesFags.com that says the only lawful sexual connection is the marriage bed. All other sexual activities are whoremongery and adultery, which will damn the soul forever in hell. And this is one of the sides that right now I'm apologizing for, because I don't know what they're thinking and I don't know how they think this is going to help. But this is far too far, taking it too far. If you look at Jesus as the good example, whenever he came across a sinner, which we all are, that's the last thing he did, was treat them like that. The only people that he treated maybe even close to that was the Pharisees, the people that thought they knew everything and thought they were right about everything and were stuck up. So I apologize for websites like that. And the problem with these websites and this side is that they treat homosexuality like in this worldview, it's a sin, but it's not any different from any other sin, right? All sins or distortion of something good, it's the very same thing, but they treat it like it's something more, like it's something different. So then you get kind of harsh statements like this. If you take an example of something like maybe a little less controversial, like think about maybe like a crackhead or something, right? If someone like that comes into the church, right, you don't just throw them out. You bring them in and you help them. You show them what's wrong, and then you help them get over that. Show them the light of Christ. You don't just throw them out and be super rude to them. But on the left side, we have more of the acceptance, right? Alex D. Montoya, an associate professor of pastoral ministries, says some evangelicals have already embraced the gay lifestyle. Others have affirmed their rights to exist as practicing homosexuals while still claiming to be Christians. So we have on this side just totally condemn them, and on the left side we have let them live like they want to, right? But this is also wrong because it lets them live in sin, right? If we take the same metaphor or the same analogy of say someone who's struggling with an addiction to drugs, we wouldn't just let them continue to be in drugs because they're hurting themselves and they're not living out their true identity in Christ. So we have to bring them along, showing them the light of Christ while, we don't want to condemn them like the right side, but we don't want to just let them continue to live in their sin. So, kind of in summary, the changes that the church needs to look at are to realize that our place is on the right, not to condemn them to hell, right? Jesus accepts sinners and he loves them, so we need to love them with the love of Christ through us. The only people, as I said, that he approaches in condemnation were the Pharisees, who thought that they knew everything. So I think this means that we should accept them because they are no different than anyone else. We're sinners lost without Jesus Christ. And on the left, we need to show them love and point them to Jesus, and in doing so, they may see their faults. So to conclude, in this speech, we talked about the Augustinian view of good and evil, and then we explored how that relates to homosexuality, and hopefully you were able to get something out of this, and maybe see how the church has handled it wrong, accepted our apologies, and maybe been persuaded to change how you think about homosexuals. Thank you.